Okay guys, well it's been a couple days. We got our block all apart and we did get it painted. And yeah, it's Detroit diesel, high heat, mint or alpine green, I think is what they call it. So, and you can see there's no cylinders down in here now. We have to put our cylinders in. And these are a wet sleeve design. So we have to install 2 O-rings at the bottom of our cylinder down here, and 1 up here in the top, and then press our liners back in. So I will get that done. We'll move on to step 2. Alright, well, we have a 4-cylinder now. Let's move on to step 2. Like I said, guys, just, be mindful on this. If you guys, anything like this, oil it up, go slow. I use this scribe, keep walking around there. You don't want to nick those. So next, our oil galley here. So each of these here in our oil gallery will get plugged, and that's for adjusting our flow. So I'll get all 4 of these put in. Okay, looks like we're done with our cylinder block for the time being. We'll set him right back here out of the way and get moving on our building our crankshaft to get it ready to go in. Okay guys, well, we got the front bearing put on our crank. I don't know if you guys see this lip right here. Well, that's going to fit up inside of, there's a shoulder that'll set up against. Here's a 1/1000th shim that'll lay in there, and then this is our center support bearing. We've taken it apart, put assembly grease in there, and we're going to slide this into our cylinder block. Just like that. We'll set our block up on its head. We'll get the screw that fits in there that retains it, and then move on to the next step. Hopefully you guys are thinking this is kind of exciting. I'm loving it. It's great. The instructions for this are sufficient, but very, very, very easy to misread. The spacer that goes between our gear up here in the front and our bearing, it says it's part number 55. Well, 55 is found in here in this section. No dimensions are given, but they're all washers. So I guess it kind of, yep, that looks right. Trial and error, and you eventually get it right. But this is taking longer to actually get done in real life than you guys are seeing in the video, because I don't want to do it more than I have to, if that makes sense. So, alright, well, let's get our crankshaft fulcrum bearing set screw put in. It's a pretty fancy word for just a little Allen screw. Make sure we got our, because this is drilled for a hole, so we'll make sure that we've got our hole lined up. It's off just a little bit. There, you guys see that in there? All right, let me get this put together. So this should spin nice and free, and it does. It turns very easily. So, all right, well, we're starting to get closer. So we'll see what our next step is here. Now we put our camshaft in. So, yeah, here I'll let you guys see. Hopefully that glare doesn't show up too bad. But turn this off. There, can you guys see what this says? This tells you the parts you use, but this is the instructions. Pictures and numbers. So, yeah, you've got to, you know, just kind of be mindful of what the hell you're getting into, because before you realize there's a problem, you could be 8 steps ahead and have to go back and tear it all down. So that's why we're moving kind of slow on this. So, okay guys, well, we're just gonna go with it. These instructions are just this side of being absolutely worthless, because yeah, this is just ludicrous. All right, well, okay guys, well, we're gonna get our cam stuck in there. I'm gonna do it off camera just to save myself from having to bleep all this out. So give me a little bit, I'll get this put in, and we'll come back and try and decipher through some more of these assembly instructions. So sit tight. Okay guys, well, we've got our cam installed, and we have very little end play, and very little end play on our crank. So, and that's going to get taken up, I would assume, that when we put our back cover on. But we're still working on the front. So for our timing, the way it shows on, the way I understand it on this, there's no paper catalog. You have to download these instructions. So it says anaerobic adhesive fixation. Isn't that something you shouldn't? I thought that involved a rope, but okay. Well, this gets set at 12 o'clock. And then our cam also gets set at 12 o'clock. Why won't our cam rotate? We get to a certain spot and it just quits. Alright, well, I guess I gotta figure that part of it out. I don't know what it's hitting on. Alright, I'll figure it out and I'll let you guys know. Okay, well, I guess what it was one of these valve guides was pushed down a little bit lower and it was hitting on our cam lobe. So, turns over freely now. We're at 12 o'clock there. We're at 12 o'clock here. We have to put in our idler here. And to do that, we've got to put our stud in. We're going to lock it in place. We also have to put our bushing in here for our water pump. So, I'll get started on that. Alright, we're going to put our dowel in here. It threads in and it suggests using Loctite, which I agree with. So with our Loctite applied to our pin, roll this guy in and get him good and snug. And then this here is our water pump bushing. You see that? That gets pressed back in there too. We're also going to apply a little bit of green Loctite to him so it doesn't fall out. We're going to make sure that we swab everything else excess off so we don't have interference fit issues. Sorry, I grabbed the wrong one. This is the smaller one of the two that fits in there. And I'll get this sitting there and I'll show you guys what I mean about these instructions and how they leave so much to be desired. And it's a trial and error test to get what's right. So it calls out for part number 37, and I don't know if it's going to show up on this without a bunch of glare or not, but probably not. 37, it shows the larger one, so I grabbed the larger one. It's not 37 that we need 36. So whether it was a mistake in the instructions or a mistake on this labeling, whatever it was a mistake. So like I said, be mindful of how this thing goes together, because well, if you're building this someplace where you have a cat and they knock this on the floor, I wish you the best of luck, because that would be a nightmare. So alright, let me double check. Our timing is at 12 o'clock and 12 o'clock. That's together and wiped down. And now we will get our idler gear, which is this one right here. I'm going to put some assembly grease on all this, and we're going to stick it together. So let me get some assembly grease ready. So I'll put some grease in there. Verify that we're still at top dead. And drop our timing gear in. We will drop our timing gear in. Drop the timing gear in. Well, help me. There. So we should be in time. With that said, let's move on to the next step, and I think we're putting our rear cover on next. Okay, so we have our rear plate with our gasket or shim on it, and that just slides over the rear end back here. There's an O-ring to seal it, and it just drops in. So we have a rotating assembly now. They want us to check to make sure everything turns freely, which it does. It turns very nicely. No tight spots. We're getting there, guys. Just not to it yet. So, all right, well, let's move on to our next step. Now we get to put our piston rings together. And now this is something that I'm sure some of you guys were curious about, and I've had plenty of comments about Viton O-rings. And I was skeptical at first also, but they got their stuff together on this one, and you have, well, you have options. So the two options are, you can run, let me get one of the pistons out and show you. So we have our grooves here, and then a lower one, which would be for oil to get up in here. But the two options for this are, you know, your standard 2 Viton or Fluorogel O-rings. But on this one, guys, this is impressive. If I can get it out of here. Cast iron piston rings. So you have options on this model, and I'm not 100% sure, but we may go with 1 Viton and 1 cast iron O-ring. It says in here the cast iron ring in a high temperature and wear resistant O-ring may lead to higher engine temperature and greater torque, but is not recommended to start for the installation for the first time. So they expect you to run 2 cast iron rings, and you know, you have to offset your end gap, you know, opposite sides of one another. So, but they want you to break it in like that, and then if need be later, then we put our Fluorogel O-rings in. So that's kind of neat. And all right, I guess I don't need to show you guys how to put rings on a piston. I can real quick, hopefully we don't break one of them. But start one side, slowly work your way around with it, slowly opening it up, and once it's on there, it's on. And you don't want to run it up from the bottom side because, well, you got this skirt here, you don't want to scratch the hell out of that. So put them on from the top, work it down, put your next one on, make sure they're offset, because if they're not offset, well, then you got a direct passage for oil to come up through from your crankcase, and you're going to burn oil and lose a bunch of compression. So all right, let me get the other one on here. We're going to put our wrist pin in, and we're going to put our connecting rod on, and then I'll get all 4 of those done. I think next after that we're going to start putting slugs down in here, so stick with it, guys. Okay guys, well, we got our cast iron rings put onto our aluminum pistons. We got our connecting rods. Our wrist pins are ready to go. These are a tapered wrist pin, ever so slightly, so don't try to shove it in from the other way, because, well, hopefully you never have to get it back apart, but put it in the wrong way, it'll be a whole lot harder to get apart. So I'll get these 4 shoved in, and then I'll see you guys in a day or two. We'll keep moving on this. So thanks again, guys. You're fantastic. Hopefully this doesn't get drug out too long. I know that everybody just wants to see it run when we're done, but I wanted to kind of show you guys that, yeah, if you do get one of these, you don't just pull it out of the box and put fuel in it, oil in it, and pull the ripcord. You build this whole engine. So all right, thanks guys, we'll see you next time. Bye. Okay, we're down to our last one. Push it down, we'll hold it. We're going to take our scribe, I'll try to get my hand out of your way, and just push those rings with just a little bit of pressure, holding it down, and they will drop in just like that. Turn our crank to where we're at bottom dead center. You guys see them in there? Push this little guy down, make sure we're lined up. There, just like that. Push him all the way down to bottom dead center. We'll put our cap on. We've got all of our pistons installed. So let me get this cap on. I'll show you guys what's next. Alright guys, well, we're one step closer. Look at that. We have pistons moving on steel cylinders with cast iron rings. Okay guys, we're down to the bottom end now, and well, we still got our oil pan. I did go ahead and surface this, and don't know if it was necessary or not, but why invite a leak? So all right, well, we're going to put our side covers on, side covers and these little gaskets, and we're going to use some of this Permatex anaerobic gasket sealant, and just put a light skim coat around here, and on the back side of this with our gasket in between. We'll put our 6 bolts on. We'll bring you guys back and move on. Okay guys, well, we got both of our side plates on. We're gonna go ahead and wipe off of our block and side covers all of this extra anaerobic material. And I don't know, maybe you guys can understand, maybe not. It is what it is. But I appreciate an engine that you can see the hardware, that looks like a little bit more care was taken when it came to assembling it. Everything was fit right and proper, and then bolted together. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but you know, leave me a comment down underneath, and we'll see what you guys think about it too. But it is what it is. And all right, we'll move on to the next one. We're gonna get our one-way bearing assembled back here on the back half, and move forward. So let's get that on there. We'll go to the next step, see what we got next.